Ciao, you magnificent bastardi, and welcome to another episode of the Viva Bastardo podcast, brought to you by the Hagerty Podcast Network. Today we have John Goldberger, the legendary biblical figure of a watch collector, who's had, I feel like, every watch ever made in creation. So check it out, utterly fascinating and slightly depressing when you are yourself a watch collector to hear about all the glorious stuff he's had. Let's get into it. It's sort of like, I was like a person preparing for their very first date, figuring out, thinking, what watch should I wear? What watch should I wear? I almost thought no watch. This morning I was like, I can't wear a watch because there's nothing you haven't seen, there's nothing you've not experienced. So I guess I'd like to start off with something a little bit unorthodox of a question. I heard somewhere you talking about how someone has said to you, Rolling Stones or David Bowie. And you said David Bowie.
Yeah, right.
And I'm a huge David Bowie fan, so I'd be interested to know, what is it about Bowie that you like, and does that...
Because it was very innovative artist, also with the help of the Brian Eno. And I love the video he made.
Which video?
I don't remember the title.
Oh, okay. Do you think that, for me, I mean, Bowie seemed like a person of endless curiosity, but also he seemed like someone who was incredibly elastic in terms of, like, he would always change himself.
Yeah.
And I feel like, in a weird way, and this is a strange metaphor, and you can tell me if I'm being weird, but I feel like that's what makes you the collector that you are, because you are very elastic in terms of how you approach things, your tastes change.
I'm very flexible.
Yeah, exactly. Do you find
and
that...
also my collection is always is moving.
Right. I mean, I think that's, in some ways, I feel like that. Do you feel like... one thing about me, I've been collecting such an infinitesimally small amount of time compared to you, but what I find interesting in my own collecting habits is that things that I really didn't like, sometimes I'll look at them and then it's as though something has clicked in my mind, and then I'll say, oh, now I like it. And I'm always surprised by that process. Yeah. Does that happen? Does that happen to you? Are there things that you don't like for years? And then
not a lot, because when I don't like the property of the watch. I like the journey, how to find, how to have a connection with the dealer, with the collectors, to increase the knowledge about watches. And after that, I put the watch on the safe.
Oh, really?
I forgot the watch.
So has it? So it's always been the kind of... There is, I find, a kind of a physical sensation when you discover, for me, when I discover a kind of watch or a group of watches or a period of watches that I feel it has been overlooked or something. Do you have that same sense? Like
yeah.
And I guess, has it always been like that for you in collecting watches? Has it always been the research and the history and the hunt?
Yeah.
Always?
Yeah.
Even at the beginning?
Yeah, always. Really? Especially in the beginning, because there's no knowledge, no internet, no books. Right. There was nothing.
So
it was a big adventure. I was a little pioneer in collecting watches.
Do you find that adventure is smaller now because you've seen so much, or not?
Yeah, very small now.
So what I mean, what is it that what are some of the things that sort of give you that tingle that make you think, this is worth pursuing in a watch?
Yeah, maybe the quality and the beauty on the wrist. For me, it's very important, the design, the beauty of the dial, the case, the condition, the provenance.
Do you like the idea of, is it also important that it hasn't been discovered or hasn't been seen much?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that way. I feel like sort of I always want to be, I have a particularly a weird form of snobbery where, and I just want to be wearing not necessarily what other people are wearing, if possible.
Me too, I'm very snobbish.
So, I know you said you really hate selling things.
Yeah.
And then you regret when you sell.
Yeah, always. I prefer to trade.
Okay. Okay. So what's the thing? Is there a thing in particular that you regret the most selling, or you sort of feel they're like children? You feel sad for all of them?
I don't care.
No.
No.
Is there anything that you're okay? Well, let me ask you this: in terms of the hunt, is there anything you're hunting for now that you can tell us about, or it's a secret until you found it?
No. Now I don't have any target and any goal.
Really?
No.
Does that happen regularly?
I was waiting.
So are you waiting for? What do you wait for? Just to stumble across something?
Yeah, something new, something unusual. Lately, with the help of a good dealer, a good friend of mine, he found a good and rare watches in the auction in Monte Carlo. And, I deal with him to buy it.
That's not the watches in Monte Carlo auction, was it? They had I think it was Davide Parmigiani.
Yeah, Davide Parmigiani helped me to buy a watch in another auction.
I see. Okay. I saw at that auction they had some amazing. I think it was Piaget, or I think it was Piaget that I'd never seen before. Really beautiful stuff from the 70s, of course.
Yeah. Also, lately he put to the auction many 70s style wristwatches by Gilbert Albert, Piaget, and other brands.
Well, look, I'm a man who enjoys the 70s.
Yeah.
So are you intrigued at all in the 70s, or that you haven't disappeared down that wormhole yet?
I'm not a big fan of the 70s.
Why not?
Because in the 70s, I don't like the cars, I don't like the watches, I don't like the clothes, I don't like the fashion, I like the design. But some pieces are very interesting.
Okay. Now tell me this.
For me, the best period is 60, for the cars, for the watches, for everything.
Right.
Lifestyle.
So that's interesting, because I find that the 70s was very audacious from a design standpoint. Like it was a real. Each decade kind of reacts to the decade previous.
And also in the 70s, the brands were very innovative.
Yeah. So that doesn't appeal to you.
If you remember, all the Heuer chronograph line was very innovative for the period.
Right. And so
70s, they introduced some Quartz watches. They introduced some fancy design.
But do you find do you mind Quartz? I know some people don't like Quartz. You don't?
I don't care. I like Quartz.
You do?
Because I like the design of the watches. The design of the watches is nice. I don't care if it's Quartz or manual inside.
Do you care about the movement of watches? Or
Not a lot. Not a lot.
I have to say, Auro, I'm so happy you say that because I consider myself a village idiot. Like I don't know how things work. I don't really care how things work. Yeah, and I find that when
and sometimes I'm very excited to see some split-second movement, some choreography movement. I like it because you see all the leverage, all the finishing is interesting.
Right.
Always work also.
But you're really aesthetics then driven.
Yeah.
That's the same for me. I'm very shallow.
This is the reason because my big passion is a Cartier.
Right. And also
it's timeless aesthetic.
Well, I was watching. You were talking in a video about a tank Centré from I think the 30s.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how it's timeless.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like, do you think you can tell by looking at the design whether it's going to last or not? Like, for instance, a contemporary watch. Is there a contemporary watch you can look at and say, this will be still...
Tank Century was a very innovative watch for the 20.
Sure.
And the design was very clean and pure. Right now, has contemporary look on the wrist is something interesting. If you see in the past, there are few watches are iconic by design. The Tank Century, the Tank, the Rolex Bubblebacks, the chronograph Oyster by Rolex, the Cosmograph, the Daytona, the Ellipse, the 70 by Patek, and other few brands. They make something iconic design.
So do you think there's something being made now that will be worthwhile in 10 or 15 or 20 years' time?
Right now, I like the Octo Finissimo by Bulgari. It's well done, with a good design. And other piece, maybe a few time-only Richard Mille.
I'm so interested you say Richard Mille, because I'm always raging about Richard Mille.
No, because Richard Mille was very innovative.
Right.
He didn't copy other brands.
Yeah.
The brands copy him.
Yeah.
and he brought his passion auto racing in the watch world, and he created very interesting pieces. The problem maybe is the price. It's a little insane.
That's understatement, Auro. It's just a small problem.
Yeah, but the watches are very interesting. The material, the design.
You see, that's interesting because for me at least, I look at the design. I understand they're technically interesting and the material's interesting. But I look at that sort of tonneau shape.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I don't find myself liking them. Although I will say, I do like. You remember that he did that series based on candy?
Yeah.
Those I thought were really interesting because it was a surprising concept.
And this kind of watch is very popular. I remember when the watch came out circa 2 years ago. I was in Singapore. I saw a group of young generation there with the Richard Mille candy on the wrist.
Yeah.
Multicolor Lamborghini.
Right.
And sneaker on the feet on about $5,000, $7,000 each one.
Right.
The new generation like this kind of stuff.
Right. The brightly colored stuff.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I have to say, for someone who's like, here's my hypothesis about 70s aesthetics or 70s watches, is that I think that design.
When did you born?
When was I born?
Yeah.
1968.
Yeah. This is the reason. Simple.
But I wasn't even aware of what was happening when it was set in the 70s.
When you were 7 years old, I was in 77, 78.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. But I feel like the thing about
I born in 57 and like 60.
right. I guess so. It's always 10 years later,
Yeah.
right? How come you never fell down the car collecting wormhole? Because we're going to talk about this in a minute. You did this beautiful book, Time to Race, but you love cars. So
I love cars. But in the Haiti, I decided to focus only on watches.
right,
I like to have a discipline in my things.
right.
And also, if you are living in Italy, it's not a great place to drive cars. Nice car.
It
to
isn't?
park nice car somewhere.
It's not a nice place?
Yeah, there are great streets to drive,
Yeah.
but it's not a great place to park the car for safety, for many reasons.
Okay. And there has to be...
When I was living in California, I bought few old Cadillac because I love Cadillac.
I saw an amazing picture of you young next to this fantastic... Was it a 50s
I bought
Cadillac?
the first car was a Cadillac Coupe de Ville 54.
Yeah.
After that, I bought the famous 57 convertible.
Chevrolet?
Yeah, Cadillac, yeah.
Oh, Cadillac, okay.
And the last one was always wing cars. And the last one was a Coupe de Ville 61. White color convertible.
So this is in the 80s?
I was between 81 and 86 when I was living in California.
So you were an young Italian man living in California, driving a mid-50s Cadillac.
Because our no expensive car was a comfortable car. You can put many people inside. I put myself, my old toys inside.
This to me sounds like the dream that you might have had when you were a kid.
Yeah, the California dreaming is always a great dream.
God, I mean, it's funny because as a kid in England, I had a dream of I wanted a 50s. I loved the 1950s. I was obsessed with the 50s, in particular the cars. And my dream was a 57 Chevy Bel Air.
I'm a Bel Air, yeah.
Yeah, that was my dream. Or the early 60s Lincoln Continental, but that
The Lincoln Continental was nice there.
The doors, the suicide doors. Okay, so let me ask you this then. You must have in your mind, even though I know you're very disciplined about collecting watches, you must have an Auro fantasy garage.
Oh, very simple. Like a iconic car, like a Mercedes Gullwing,
Okay.
a Ferrari 275 GTB4,
Okay.
and also the 250 GT Lusso by Ferrari. That's it.
It's just, you're a simple man with simple pleasures.
Nice body,
Yeah.
well designed, and those are iconic car.
Now, do you mean to tell me, Auro, that you are rejecting the Alpha T33, which in my mind is the most beautiful car ever made?
Yeah, it's great design. The face is incredible of that car.
I love that car. I feel like if I had a fantasy
The
garage,
headlight, everything is great.
all of it. I mean, Yeah, and I've always loved cars where the door opens
Yeah.
in part of the roof. For some reason, I find that really fascinating.
Also,
design.
the racing car, there was a T233 with the same kind of window.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, for my fantasy garage, I would add a few things from from the eras you don't like. I would probably have a Vector. Do you know what a Vector W
Yeah,
is?
no, like,
Just from a design standpoint, I think it's
but
amazing.
that period, I think, was the most powerful car, no?
Possibly.
Yeah.
And it had this extraordinary kind of fighter jet interior dashboard that was modeled off an F-16 fighter plane.
But for this kind of design, I prefer the Bulldog by Aston Martin.
I know that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
What about if we're going down? I feel like maybe I could persuade you to like the 70s and 80s, Auro. This is going to be my job for the next half an hour. What about the Isdera Imperator?
Oh, yeah.
Do you like that one?
Not bad. Yeah.
Not bad. Okay. All right. I love that. That was based on that Mercedes. There was a Mercedes concept car I think it was based off. Did you not have any love for Rally, Group B, all that kind of stuff?
I like a lot the Delta.
The Integrale?
Yeah, the Integrale.
Okay.
It was a great car.
Yeah.
The Stratos, options. Other cars, I don't know. When I was younger, I loved the Alpine Renault, was too small for me.
The Alpine A110. Oh, I had one of those. Yeah, I know. Well, that's the only car I've ever had that you feel like you're actually wearing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. The design, the interior, all of it. The details are really, really beautiful.
Tail, yeah.
Yeah, all of it. The other thing, one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was you have mentioned a few times that your Grail watch, and I'm sure everyone immediately wants to hear what is John Goldberger's Grail watch, is this watch from the Kubrick film, 2001, the Hamilton prototype that does that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
No, it was when I saw the first time, the movie was a kid was 10 years old, was 67, 68, with my father. My father was a big passion with the fiction.
Science fiction?
Yeah. And I saw the movie was incredible. After that, I read about the Kubrick asked to Hamilton to make a special watch for the movie. Was a one desk clock and few curved wristwatches.
Yeah.
You can see clearly in the movie. I know there is one example in the Hamilton Museum, and other, I don't know. Somebody told me they made 3 pieces.
Now, do you like science fiction yourself? Or
Yeah, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I'm a huge science fiction fan. Massive. What kind of, this is amazing. So,
Okay, but my chart of the fiction movie are, 2001 Odyssey in Space,
Yep.
Blade Runner,
Oh, of course, Blade Runner.
and what's another movie?
Aliens?
Yeah, Aliens is Terror or
Yeah.
Science Fiction. Alien and Aliens. The second one was good.
And the watch? The Seiko design
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Giugiaro.
Yeah.
So I've been obsessed with Blade Runner ever since I was a kid.
And also, Giugiaro, I think the only few designers make good job on the watches.
That's right.
Because I saw many designers that will make great watches.
Yeah.
Another great designer, I don't remember the name, was a German designer. He designed the Jungans.
Okay.
It was a great design.
Who did you? It wasn't Dieter Rams, was it? No.
No, Rams made the other watch for Brown.
Okay.
It's a rectangular with a digital
Right. Okay.
screen. And Jungans was another designer. He worked in Germany. And he made its incredible shape.
So also, other than watches, you collect. I know you say you're very focused, but I suspect other things have crept in.
I got watch from the 70s. I love it.
Oh.
Was a present from my father. Was a Pulsar.
Was it a digital watch?
Yeah, the Pulsar P1.
Wait, is it the one with one button?
Yeah,
That was my very first watch.
the Because
Yeah.
when my father came from New York
Yeah.
for my 18 years birthday, gave me this pulsar still with the Tiffany on the glass. He bought in Tiffany for $175. Was a lot of money
That's
for that
right.
period.
Yeah.
This kind of money, you can buy a gold Rolex Datejust.
Really?
Yeah.
But he bought your Pulsar.
Yeah.
That hasn't done as well in the market as the
I still have in
Datejust.
my drawer.
So you, I find it very interesting. There is something really exciting about the hunt, I guess, isn't it? But so do you go and visit your watches on a regular basis, like sort of like children?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Go to the safe and see the watches.
Does it, when you look at all your watches you've collected, do you think about the journey they've taken you or where you've found them or
when I found it, why I found it, and the storytelling around the watch.
every watch has do you remember every story for every watch?
Yeah, I remember all price of watches.
That's
Also,
amazing.
or the dealer, or the collector, the place.
That's an amazing. It's kind of like a family album of sorts in a way for
Yeah.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
Your memories, your life. That's fascinating.
And was interesting journey. But I am getting old. I'm a man of the past century.
Well, I don't know. You still seem very curious.
Yeah. Fortunately, yes.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're curious, that's the thing. That's the most important thing.
For example, 2 days ago I was in Hamptons. And there is a little flea market. I went there. I jumped there to see, to browse, to find.
You
something.
can't resist.
No.
I think we went to when I first moved to New York in '92. I would go to the flea market on 26th and 6th.
Yeah, I remember the first time in New York was in '78
Okay.
when I started collecting watches, and then 26th and 6th was this huge flea market.
Yeah.
I met Andy Warhol there.
Really?
Yeah,
What? Just you were both looking at watches?
Yeah, he was a good collector. He bought a lot of object, jewelry,
Wait a minute,
watches.
this is amazing. Tell me. So there's Andy Warhol looking at some watches. Auro sees him. What happens?
Yeah.
You go up to him. You say,
No, was a lady. Was named Pia. She was a pharmacist. Was a good dealer of watches, and she was selling watches to Andy Warhol, and she introduced me to him.
and what happened? Well, how did the conversation? You just had a little brief exchange.
We talk about Cartier.
What was he buying?
Yeah, shape watches. This kind
Was
of
he buying a Cartier?
Yeah,
Do you remember which one?
I don't remember. It was a tank or something like this. He was very popular on the flea market.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, and so visible with the hair,
Yeah, with
the
the-
wig.
Weak.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not
Why
see
weak?
it? I would imagine it would be very hard for Andy Warhol to get good bargains.
Yeah, I know all the stuff of Andy Warhol went to the auction by Sotheby in the hand of 80. They made, I think, 6 different catalogs. One for watches, one for jewelry, one for the furniture, another one for the object d'art, and it was an interesting collection. But it was more amassing stuff.
He was.
Yeah.
I see. Do you think he wasn't the reason you got into Cartier, was he?
Yeah, he bought.
It was because of Warhol.
He bought.
But did you like Cartier because
No. I
So-
like it. Okay, when I started collecting watch, I started because my father gave me great advice. Please go and buy watches because with the Quartz era are very cheap. All the manual watch was on the flea market for nothing.
Right.
You can make good bargain because my father and my family were a big art collector. And my father told me, don't buy Cartier, buy only Patek and Rolex. Cartier is for coiffeur people.
It's for hairdressing.
But
So did you then choose Cartier because you were a father and you had
Yeah.
to rebel against your
Yeah.
son, you had to rebel against your father?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
right.
That's fantastic. That's very funny. So how long did it take you to come around to deciding to buy Patek and Rolex then?
Immediately.
Immediately?
Because my father told me Patek and Cartier, and I didn't know Patek. I know only Omega, Cartier, and Rolex. I told him, who is Patek? Go to Geneva and I'll learn. I took my Beetle, I went to Geneva, I see the small building on Rue du Rhône. I understood the power of Patek, the importance of Patek.
But why? From just seeing the building?
No, just to see the building, the catalog, to see the watches.
So hang on. So you were, so you went there, and
Because
then,
my father never teach me.
right.
Always give me the direction. Go and learn yourself.
I feel like that's the best thing a father. As a father now, I feel like all you can do is a direction, and then hopefully your child will follow that direction or not.
Yeah.
But so you went to the Patek off building, and they just you were how old, if I could ask?
I was 78, 20 years old.
Okay. So and they said, come in and have a look.
Yeah, I went there and see they show me the important watch. I remember the perpetual, the pocket watch.
Right.
They give me. I still have the small catalog with the price on it. I was very surprised about the style of the watch, the power of the movement, the case, everything.
So you must have seen some of the amazing 70s stuff.
Yeah, right. Lots of ellipse.
Right. But this is interesting. I feel like
I was very attracted by perpetual complicated watch.
Why is that?
Because I thought it was very important and very unusual, and for that period, only Patek manufactured complication, watch with the complication,
Right.
pocket watch and wristwatch. Later, in the market, came back Ademar and Vacheron with the perpetual, with the chronograph. But for that period, it was only Patek. Also later came in the market Gerald Genta with his complicated watches.
So you had very good natural instincts
Yeah.
for collecting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've been through a lot of different kind of. I mean, look, it's very hard for me to talk about collecting when I'm talking to you because my journey is so small and my knowledge is tiny. But I like you. I do enjoy the excitement of discovering something. I found a watch the other day through a friend of mine on Instagram. Actually, it's a Louis Vuitton, the very first watch, one of the very first watches they made, the Monterey.
Oh yeah.
With it was put together by IWC with a ceramic case.
Yeah, from Gao Lenti designer.
Yes, exactly.
The crown on 12.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Gao Lenti she was wearing on the wrist. It's a big Rolex split second.
She was?
She's personal watch was a Rolex split second.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You can see many photos from the 70s.
Interesting.
Watch.
The one, this is the one you're talking about. They made only 12 or something of.
Yeah.
God, that's interesting. But I find. Let me ask you this: do you get a greater satisfaction out of buying an interesting watch that's very cheap, or not? When I find something that's really cheap and rare, I feel happier than when I have to pay a lot.
Always.
Yeah.
I paid a lot on the watch. Always.
Right.
I prefer to pay a lot for the originals, for the correct source, with the correct provenance, with the correct story.
I feel like that.
I was pioneer when I was very young. Right. Now I don't want to lose time to make.
Right. I feel like those you have these boxes that must be ticked, and the number of watches that tick those boxes must be getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. Now my collection is shrinking.
Is it?
Yeah. I try to trade more watches for one more rare watches.
I'm trying to think if I have anything worth trading. I don't think so. So let's talk a little bit about this book for a minute. So for people who are not watching the YouTube, Auro has produced this glorious book called A Time to Race. So it's stories of watchers and race car drivers and the watches that they wore. Yeah. And it's just coming out now?
No, this is came out 1 year ago.
Oh, 1 year, I'm sorry. Okay.
And now it's coming out the second one.
Okay.
Also, will be ready for Christmas.
Okay, and then the second one is also the same.
Other 120 characters and other watch brands. In the first one, the foreword was from Ferrari son,
Okay.
and TK Mack is a collector from Hong Kong. The second one, the forward, would be from Richard Mille, from Mario Andretti.
Right. Yeah, he's got a big collection himself.
We tried to find a character from the racing world and a character from the watch world.
So did you get to meet a lot of the people with? I mean, a lot of these people are not in this book are not alive anymore. But did you?
Yeah.
But did you meet in the second book? Are they more contemporary people or they're similar era?
Similar era. There's a mix of contemporary and old people.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is, in both books, there are a lot of American drivers.
Right.
The American drivers love to wear watches during their racing.
Right. I wonder why that is. I feel like that would be distracting. You can't drive and look at a watch at the same time. Yeah. At least I can't. Maybe it's a different level of skill. You also collect Chinese porcelain, is that right?
Yeah, for decoration. No,
it's not a real thing.
Yeah, just a tea pot from China from the last century.
So, what distracted you from your central focus of collecting watches to start collecting that stuff?
No, it's no real collection. Like to buy something I love on the market in the UK, in America, to decorate the house.
Okay, you've never been tempted to kind of buy other things. It's always you've never thought.
I'm always tempted. In the 80s, I was tempted by cars.
Okay,
I stopped it. And also by collecting photos.
Okay.
I started to collect some photos, black and white, from a good photographer, but I stopped.
That's so interesting. So it's a conscious decision to stop.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to abandon your focus.
Yeah, right.
So what cars did you start to collect?
No, I started with the Beetle. Convertible Beetle with the first car when I was 18 years old. After that, I bought a Porsche Speedster.
Oh, very
but
nice.
There was too many detailed story. It was hard to find the right
You wanted
example.
You wanted a perfectly original and untouched. Sure.
I didn't have a lot of knowledge, and I abandoned it. I stopped collecting.
Was that in California?
No, it was in Italy.
Okay.
Because I remember the price of Speedster there was like $20,000 in Italy in the beginning of 80.
The difference between authenticity or the value of authenticity in terms of watches and cars is handled very differently.
Yeah.
Like in a car, you can have a car that has been
restored.
Totally restored, or they just have the chassis and then they make everything.
The restoration is accepted in the car world.
That's right.
In the watch world, no. Not a lot.
How do you feel about how do you feel about cases being restored?
The right direction, why not? But what kind of restoration? With the laser, add material?
Right.
I don't like it a lot.
Well, I feel like the problem with restoration is it removes the history, right?
Right.
It removes the story. It removes the romance.
Also, right now, I think the car market, the barn finds are very popular.
Yeah.
They are back to the original condition cars.
Yeah. Well, there
is a premium on this kind of car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I find it. The problem I have with a lot of vintage Ferraris is that they're just too restored. You know when you see the interior and it's perfect and it's sort of the seats are too fat. They're too plump.
The leather is too new.
Yeah. I love when you see a friend of mine has a couple of old. He's kind of. You know him, Ben Clymer.
Yeah.
So he's got a couple of cars, and they're all as they were from the 50s or 60s. And there's something so beautiful about the scratches and the cracks in the leather and the kind of.
Lately saw some photos about with the Zagato car.
Yeah.
With a nice scratch.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's
with original painting.
Yeah, I mean, the scratches and everything make it beautiful. It's just, I don't know. There's something. I don't have any. I sold all my. I got out of all the '60s stuff I had. Now I have only cars you would not like, Auro.
Why? Tell me, what car?
Okay. Well, they're all things. They're modern things. There's. Well, you might actually like the Lancia 037.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I know.
Group B. If you're around, you want to go for a drive, I'm happy to terrify you. Not with my driving skills, but with my driving inability. The
037 was an interesting car. Very interesting.
such a I sold it a few years ago to a friend of mine, and then recently I just bought it back.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the best car I've ever driven. That's partly why I sold all the '60s stuff, because I didn't like.
You can drive this kind of car.
Right. Well, also the '60s stuff was not as fun to drive. It was much more beautiful to look at. Like an isogrifo.
Yeah, isogrifo is like a sculpture.
And
You
what?
can put a light sculpture.
Yeah, that's right.
You can put on your dining room.
Yeah,
And to sit.
that's right. Tell me about Sprezzatura. You're the only person who's ever. I'm kind of secretly obsessed with Sprezzatura.
Yeah.
Do you think you can explain to the audience what it is?
No, it's a very simple elegance. I learned about Sprezzatura in Naples.
Okay. Is that the origin of Sprezzatura?
Yeah, in Naples, in Rome.
Okay.
The best place you can find a very elegant man. There are great tailors
Yeah.
for suit or shirts, good also for shoes.
But as I understand it, isn't Sprezzatura sort of like slightly careless elegance?
It's careless elegance.
Right.
Very simple. Also, you can mix everything
Right.
without problem.
Yeah. I love that idea. I've recently realized I've come across a friend. I've become friends with a tailor, a really good tailor from Naples, and he actually made me these trousers that I'm wearing today. And I've never really had a pair of trousers made for me, and I feel like I've never actually been wearing real clothes until now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you have stuff, it's just the way they fit, the way they wear. It's kind of a revelation. I feel like I have to start from scratch.
The culture in that city is deep in the elegance.
Do you like history at all? Are you interested in history at all?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Any particular era of history?
The Renaissance.
Really? Okay, that makes sense. Why?
Because it was the best period for the Italian culture. About everything. Architecture, painting, sculptures, politics also.
Was that the Borgia in the Renaissance? Or they were?
Yeah. The beginning of the Renaissance, yeah.
Okay. You said your parents were collectors of art. What kind of art did they collect?
They collected the painting for the 16th and 17th century, furniture for 17th century, 18th century, carpets, all this kind of stuff, pottery.
Do you still have some of those things?
Yeah. My parents passed away. I have still the house it's very close to my house, full like this. Stop.
Is it empty?
No. It's like when we're still living.
That's amazing. But sorry, but no one lives there now.
No.
So you've kept it as.
Yeah, right. To remember my family, does it?
That's beautiful. That's really an extraordinary thing. Do you go and visit on a regular basis?
Sometime.
Yeah.
Sometime. I got to check everything.
And everything smells like them, right?
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I have things that still, I've kept things, well, my father was an artist, so I have his art, of course, but I've kept things that belong to them, and, that smell of my father or my mom.
Yeah, right.
It's immediate, those memories. That's extraordinary.
It's good memories from the past.
Yeah.
Especially from your family.
For sure. Do you, I find that very touching, Auro, and really a beautiful thing. It's lovely. Obviously, I guess that's where that idea of collecting came from, presumably.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. My parents didn't collect anything.
Good.
I think if they were alive now, they would be appalled, kind of, at these, like, why these cars, why watches?
Yeah.
I don't think they'd understand that.
Sometimes people doesn't like the second-hand object.
Right. Well, that's in part that's why I find it hard to buy modern watches, because there's no history, there's no age to them.
Yeah.
Do you find that's
And also they are still working.
Yeah, right. It's true.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Do you have that? Does that bother you, the lack of age in things, in watches, or not?
No.
No. You're wearing what today? You're wearing a.
It's all bronze by Tudor.
Right.
It's a good watch to travel.
Right.
It's all oxidized by summertime.
I was watching the way you. I was watching. This is going to sound weird, but I'm always saying weird things. I was watching the way you handle watches, like you were showing. I think Waco, way these tanks centrés.
Yeah.
And the way you handle them is so it's with this fluidity and ease of someone who's been handling watches for decades, as opposed to this sort of it's like a crown jewel.
I can open also easily the watches.
Well, I know you're referencing the mythological event that happened with. For those people who don't know what Auro is talking about, the opening the case back with the cheese knife.
Well, it's not cheese knife. It's a charcuterie. It's a
charcuterie knife.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it was a knife. And it
was on the cheese end.
Well, because I think that you started collecting watches at a time when they were beautiful, interesting things, but they weren't what they are now.
The problem is that when I decided to publish books, I took photos of the watches. I opened all watches. I go down to open watches.
Right.
Good experience.
Sure. But do you think, I feel like when I look at, for instance, I saw a video the other day of it was shot in California in the late 60s, and it was a bunch of guys with Ferraris, right? And they were painting numbers on the side of their Ferraris, the sports cars. They were like actors or whatever, because they were just cars. I mean, they were beautiful foreign cars. They were expensive, but they were still...
Yeah, they went to the Laguna Seca Speedway, to the other Pomona Speedway, no problem.
Yeah, but they hadn't occupied this kind of exalted area in our minds that watches and cars occupy now.
Yeah.
Do you feel how that's changed for you? How watches are now different spiritually in a way than they were when you started collecting?
No.
No?
Maybe the new generation are a little different. They have a less experience, but now they have a lot of information by web, by also all the GTG get together,
right?
Meeting, a little different.
But what I mean is, I guess that watches.
In the past, I was working more on solitude.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you miss that?
No.
No. You like the idea of information being available.
Yeah, right. For me, I like the democracy of the web. Sometimes there is wrong information,
but don't you miss? But I feel like the democracy of the web means it's much harder to be Sir Edmund Hillary. It's much harder to be the person, like the first person to top Everest. You know what I mean?
Okay.
No,
I don't care.
Do you like, for instance, you post the watch actually that I happen to own as well, which gave me great joy, which is the Pierre Cardin. What is that? The Jaeger. It's not Jaeger LeCoultre. It's a different...
No, LeCoultre.
It is LeCoultre.
It was the name of the line was Espace.
Yeah.
Pierre Cardin decided to design many things in the 70s. He made the astronauts suit for the NASA.
Yeah.
He designed the suit for the crew of the airlines.
Braniff.
Yeah. He designed the tiles. He designed towels.
Right.
He decided to design also watches. Very innovative design. He made the joint with the Jaeger, France.
Yeah.
Good company. Introduced this kind of line. Very innovative. The first time I saw this watch was almost 20 years ago in the flea market on Marchand Puch in Paris.
Okay.
I bought three example, new with the box, everything.
Right.
For $500, $400 each one.
Sure.
And later I found the others. I tried to amass a little bit.
Right.
And make a little collection. They're very interesting.
So you see, you do like something from the 70s.
Yeah. But I don't wear it.
So why do you not wear them then, if you find them interesting?
Too fancy for this kind of watch. Maybe I have to wear also strange suit.
All right, maybe we can have a suit made that will match the watch for you, Auro. Okay, or interesting. Yeah, I mean, going back to the Octo Finissimo, funnily enough, do you think so you think that will be a watch that will be looked at? Do you think like the
will be
Royal Oak?
The next 20 years maybe will be collectible, especially the special edition by the Japanese designer.
Oh, Tadao Ando.
Tadao Ando, the other one when they made lately.
The shiny one?
Yeah. She's acted, and she made 2 models. One with the strange cascade on the dial, above the nose, and the other one with the all mirror.
Right. What about I find myself curiously attracted to the skeletonized black ceramic one.
Yeah, this is very nice.
I love it.
Will be collectible.
I love how that looks.
Not like an Royal Oak by the Marma, very similar. Designed well done, and then the finishing, everything. My luck also the tourbillon, the minute repeating.
Right. What do you think of the
Especially
one
with the carbon fiber case?
Actually, I'm talking to Fabrizio.
Yeah.
Maybe this week or next week.
Good friend of mine. He's a great designer. He came from the automotive.
Yeah, that's right.
This is the reason he designed very well the case, the screw, the finishing.
Right.
There's great knowledge in the material.
Well, we had a phone call. We had a quick chat the other day, and we started talking immediately about cars.
Yeah. And also he designed. You see some drawings about cars.
Right. Well, you know what I found.
His nickname is Mano de Dio.
Mano de Dio, hand of God.
Yeah.
Is that's your nickname?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I found really interesting. I used to work in advertising, and I'm an artist. And when I want to sound pompous, I say I'm a conceptual artist because everything for me is around ideas. And what I found, there's not much. They did something I thought was conceptually really interesting. Was the sketches that then became the watch.
It was a very innovative idea for me.
Really interesting idea. That's why I
would like to buy one.
I'm sure that they'll be able to. I'm sure they'll be able to help you out.
Yeah, because it's a very fresh, innovative idea.
Yeah, but that's what I like. That's why I like the Richard Mille candy thing, because it was a concept. It was a definitive idea.
It's conceptual work from the mind.
Yeah, and I really admire that. Are there any other watches that you think of that are conceptual like that?
The new frontier is an NFT.
Right. I don't even understand.
Me too.
You don't understand?
Because there are 2 kinds of world, the virtual world, the real world.
Right.
I am still in the real world. But I understood why the young generation like this kind of stuff.
Right. I did a few NFTs, and I'm still super confused as to what the point of it is. I feel like at some point you become your parents. You know, at some point as you grow older, you have this memory of how you were when you were a child, looking at your parents and completely baffled that they couldn't understand what you could understand. And that's where I am now, is I'm realizing I am now at the point where my kid looks at me and doesn't understand how I don't understand.
I'm very curious, but I like to understand more about the NFT, this kind of new world.
Maybe we can take a class together.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, you know what else I find? I'd be curious to know what you think of is Resonance. Do you find them interesting as a watch brand, or that's not really your thing?
No, it's very interesting.
You do?
Yeah.
Why?
It's a great mechanical piece.
But I thought you weren't interested in the mechanics.
Yeah, but in this case, it came from the Goldberger idea. No?
Did it?
Yeah, Resonance.
No, Resonance. The ones with the.
I thought with the Resonance by.
Oh no!
By Journe.
Oh no!
No.
Well, the Resonance.
The Resonance. Yeah, okay.
Journe. It's interesting
because
for Journe, I keep trying to like it.
Yeah.
Like I look at it and I totally understand that it's sophisticated and it's beautifully done and the typography is amazing and the materials are amazing. And so I feel like for all those reasons I should like it, but then I just can't. And I'm not sure why.
Maybe it's too retro style. You know, the watch is like a piece of 18th century, 19th century on your wrist.
Ah.
You know, the design, the art
Okay.
is well made.
So do you think if I liked pocket watches, I would then like FP Journe?
For me, the future will be the pocket watch.
Really?
Yeah, for the young generation who like manual mechanic watches, you can wear high watch on the wrist and a good pocket watch on the pocket. They can play with the split second, with repeating, with perpetual for.
Well, look, there's the one problem I have with the pocket watch gaining universal acceptance is this. I had bought a pocket watch. It was a beautiful Longines with this salmon dial and this whole thing, right? It's really lovely. But then it occurred to me, how do you wear it? Like, I feel like you need to have specific clothing because you need to have a little vest or just in your pocket.
Yeah, just a pocket for the denim for the pants.
Well,
it's a good chain, does it?
So you think that's going to be the next thing? Well, this is Goldberger predicts.
No. But for young generation, like mechanic and manual, for affordable price, you can buy for 50,000, 100,000, good watch by Patek, by Vacheron, by Breguet. It's impossible to find on the wrist. This kind of complication.
Right.
And also, the high watch is incredible watch.
One of the things that's beautiful about pocket watches is because the dial is massive, you have this huge canvas to do interesting things.
Yeah.
Do you think there would be an opportunity to do a contemporary pocket watch? Is anyone doing that?
I collecting the modern pocket watch by Patek they made in the 60s and 70s. Was a new modern case, like Art Deco. I like this kind of watch. I don't like the style of the beginning of the century, too much retro, too much old style. Right. But I saw a very nice pocket watch by Panerai. It's tourbillon with a strange ceramic case. It's incredible chain. It was designed from an Italian designer, Giampiero Bodino. He made a good job.
I tell you, Panerai breaks my heart because I want to love Panerai so much. Like the original ones.
Mm. Oh. I have a few examples of the original one.
Oh, I love those things because there's just...
You know, they are full of storytelling in this.
Well, yeah, I know. They have the most extraordinary stories. But also just the way they look. There's the sandwich dial, the wire lugs, the onion crowns. I mean, I know that
the leather band.
Like all of it. It's just this. It's like this kind of orgy of patina.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The orgy of patina. Yeah, right.
You can use that in your next book, Auro. That's my gift to you. That phrase. And even the contemporary the ones that the reissues of the old versions I still like, but they're just too big. I have tiny like little hot dog wrists, but I still love them. There's something about that typography, that sandwich dial thing is really beautiful and so simple, but so incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was they were real tool watches.
Yeah, that's right.
Before Rolex and Omega manufactured in the 60s, in the 50s.
Well, did Rolex make any tool watches in the 40s? Sort of, no?
They started to make the Milgauss, GMT, Submariner in the 57, 58.
I do feel like if the Bubblebacks, I think that the Bubblebacks were the most audacious and interesting.
One of the best design watch in the history.
Bubblebacks?
Yeah. Very simple, a multitude of variation of dials.
But so hard to find real ones now.
Yeah, there are many redone dials.
Right.
It also it's very difficult to find a part to fix the movement.
Right. I find that the Bubblebacks, the dials and the designs, that was the most audacious period for Rolex in terms of dial design. Yeah. The most interesting. And there are so many...
If you know, the Rolex from the 40s, from the 50s, 60s, their dial is incredible. The dials are a piece of art.
They are, but the Bubblebacks in particular, they were just doing things that I feel like in the 50s and later on, it was a little bit more conventional.
Yeah. When the 30 and the 40 was incredible two-tone dial, black,
right,
pink, salmon.
Yeah,
luminous.
That's my kind of obsession is 40s Rolex and then 70s Patek.
Yeah.
But I can't really. I mean, I look. If you know anyone who has a nice Bubbleback they want to sell,
I'm still looking for Bubbleback. Now they are back on the market.
Are they?
Especially the good condition dial, good condition case.
Right.
The best example are in Japan.
Right.
They started buying the watches and these kind of watches in the 80s. They are still there in some collection.
I find it every time. I find it so. It's very hard for me. I don't have the knowledge to tell. Like every time I think, oh, this is a real one, and I'll send it to a guy I know who seems to know about Bubblebacks, and I'll say, this is real, and he'll go, no, it's not. Every single time. I find it's very frightening to buy because they always seem to be redialed.
Right.
But I love. I mean, some of the sector dials, all that stuff is beautiful. I used to also collect Eberhards for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
They're beautiful.
Because they are a strange company, because they don't have a great distribution network around the world.
Mm.
They were very popular in Italy, in Switzerland, Germany. Few examples in the States. Those who later was purchased from the Italian distributor, and they made great chronograph.
Yeah.
By size, by dial.
They were huge.
They made great split second.
Yeah. I had one. I sold it because I started buying all these Pateks. I couldn't afford to keep everything, but it had an inscription on the back, and the inscription was from the 513th Machine Gun Regiment to our captain, and it was dated May 1936.
Oh, great!
So that was when Italy was invading Ethiopia. It was such a piece of history.
Yeah, it came from Italy. It was very popular in Italy.
It seemed like because I remember buying quite a few Eberhards that had belonged to people in the Italian military.
You know,
in
the 30s, the Italian market was one of the most important market in Europe.
Mm.
Forget the States and China didn't exist.
Sure.
Distribution there. And in Italy in the 30s, you can find an extremely rare Longines, especially chronograph, Rolex, Eberhard.
Right.
It's a great market for this kind of brand.
Yeah, they're beautiful. The dials are exquisite. There's something for me, I don't know how you feel about this, but there's something for me about very busy dials in the 40s.
Those 40 millimeter case.
Huge. Huge. Those busy dials make me kind of, when I see them, they do something to me. They make me fizz in a good way.
Those they make something different, extra 40 movement.
Right.
The split second were very interesting.
Yeah.
With the Valiju 55 movement.
Right. And then they have that peculiar lock function.
Yeah.
What was that for? Just to stop the timer?
To stop it or restart.
I see. Okay. It wasn't like a safety.
Extra fort, they call it.
Right.
Because the company was located in Chaux-de-Fonds.
Yeah.
And I think the Italian family bought the company was named Vecchi, I think, or Monti, I remember. They bought the company and now they go on.
Right.
Business.
Is Eberhard still in business?
Yeah.
They make the most atrocious watches.
Italian ownership.
Every time I see them, it breaks my heart because the stuff from the 40s is so glorious. And then stuff now is just a crime against horology.
Like Longines.
Right. Do you not think they're doing very much of any... You don't think they're doing much that's good these days?
No, they are making few good models, especially in the heritage line. So they make legend divers, not bad.
Sure.
They made a few Conquest. And the other good watch was some chronograph with flyback function, but they have movement for the Swatch group.
When I first started collecting, I met with an Italian dealer very, very early on, and he was wearing a tritake, and I've never bought one, but I would like to buy one because for me the proportions are just every detail. There's so little on the watch, but
for me, Longines manufactured the best chronograph in that period, better than Patek and Vacheron,
the 13ZN,
and the Omega. Yeah, because the own movement, very well done. The case, the dial, everything. It was a great chronograph.
But the proportions are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like this, the
thick, chunky case with the step bezel.
And then the big crown.
Yeah.
I love that. I resisted liking watches for so long because I just thought, I was like you. I was like, I just like cars. If I start liking watches, it's going to be a disaster.
And also they have a good dial supply. It was one Flukiger, was in Saint-Imier, the same city of the Longines. That was a Stern.
Yeah.
Same dial manufacturer of Patek. They made great dial for Longines. Black, two-tone.
Right.
Simon.
But you're right, the proportions are beautiful, and it's those details, as you say, the step dial,
I mean,
the chunkiness.
It's a perfect chronograph.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they're a little bit, but they're out of my budget now, so now I'm on the Tritake well.
Now the Tritake chronograph is another insane price.
Are they? I'm just talking about time only.
Around $100,000.
Okay. Yeah.
150 with the black dial, 200 with the...
All right, that's beyond the Toledano budget. So I have to just stick to the time-only Tritake. Yeah, those are also...
Well, those are time-only Tritake or 6-take. They are $10,000 watch.
Right. Do you like those or not so much?
I love Longines.
Yeah. Is that your favorite brand, do you think?
One of my favorite. I make a book on Longines.
Yeah, I know. You made books on. Have you made Longines the
Omega,
cars?
Rolex, Patek Philippe Steel, Patek Philippe, and Time to Race.
Now, look, Auro, just let me know when you need some you need me to consult for your 1970s Patek book.
Sure.
I'm happy to lend my years of expertise.
Come on, your Beta 21 is a great watch.
I know.
You choose a great watch with a great white gold bracelet, detachable and nice blue dial.
I really...
It's working well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes with the battery, they have some problem.
I have 3. This is the one that keeps the most perfect time. All the other ones are slightly, it's
There is a little adapter for the battery because right now the battery is different from the past.
Right.
Yeah, a little, I think, smaller.
Oh, so you mean that's why it doesn't keep perfect time on some of them?
No. There's no battery, but
this one is.
It's very difficult to fix it.
Yeah. Well, I just had
If you go to Patek to fix a watch like this, they can ask you 20,000 Swiss francs.
Really?
Easily.
Don't say that, man. Yeah. Don't tell me, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
I actually just took them in to be fixed because they weren't working. There's a lovely chap called Alkis, Swiss watch repair. He fixed them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which was because they were sitting in my...
Because very few watchmakers have this kind of experience to fix this kind of quartz movement.
Well, he worked on them in the 70s and Piaget.
Oh yeah.
So
they use a Beta 21.
Yeah. I find the Beta 21s just, I love. I wish they were...
Because there's a big ellipse with a chunky design. And the bracelet is great.
I wish people would make more integrated bracelets now. I feel like that's a lost art.
Yeah. With the popularity of the Royal Oak, they introduced the integrated bracelet. Maybe the first company was a Rolex with the quartz watch.
The Oyster Quartz.
Yeah, was the first for me watch with integrated bracelet.
Yeah.
And the same period, Girogenta designed the Royal Oak.
Right.
And right now, everybody like to go back to the 70s style. Vacheron ratio, the 222.
Right.
Spark it, they make an integrated bracelet. Longines, they make no integrated, but steel bracelet.
Right.
And other company, Tissot.
Yep.
They introduced a nice watch.
But if you look at the variety of integrated bracelets that Patek was making, they were really, I feel like it would almost be financially prohibitive to make those bracelets now? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what they cost.
It was a very expensive watch in the 70s.
Do you know what?
The lips with the integrated bracelet, the Beta 21.
Do you know what this cost in the 70s?
I don't know. I had to check in the whole. I have a whole catalog.
Really? Oh, I'd love to know. I would love to know.
I'll send you the copy.
Thank you.
Because there's all the price, but it was very close to a perpetual.
Right. Do you like the Midas?
24.99.
Do you like the Midas at all?
Yeah, I love Midas.
Yeah, me too.
I have a two example in my collection: the white gold and the true color.
Oh, the striped one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Also, I think Gerard Genta designed the watch.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And I think the first project started in the 62, 63.
That's right. It's really extraordinary because it's so ahead of its time. I mean, he really preempted the entire 70s integrated bracelet sculptural watch movement. I mean, that's
It
incredibly
was so
early.
innovative.
Yeah.
So expensive because it was Rolex investing gold.
So heavy, right?
Yeah.
They're very heavy.
And also, they made 3 models: king, queen, and princess.
They made a princess?
Yeah, it's very rare.
Is this for children?
No, just for lady, young lady. But it's very chunky and thick, and it's incredible.
I've never heard of that.
You see that the height is double than
Really?
the King Midas.
I love them.
You see them whole advertising. There is all 3 models:
Interesting. I've never heard of
princess,
that.
queen, and king.
Okay. Do you have any of the later Cellini ones, or you don't
I
like
don't
those?
like Cellini name on the dial.
I know.
I hate.
I know. Me too. It's funny. I have a white gold Midas, and then I have a Cellini lapis.
Yeah,
But I feel the same way. The typography just annoys me.
yeah. And also the name is a Renaissance artist, Italian artist. Okay, the line of Rolex. It also was not so successful line.
Right.
Because I think the only Rolex without oyster case.
But the problem with the thing with the Cellini is some of those Cellini Midas are really beautiful, like the design of the case. There's that sort of not hexagonal. I don't know what
Yeah,
shape.
there was some hexagonal.
Yeah, but they're Cellini, right? Those ones.
Yeah,
So you have to suffer. I have to say, okay, I love the case, I love the dial. I just hate the script.
yeah.
Right.
Too.
Yeah, I know. It's funny that. And is that still going, Cellini?
Yeah, this is the line Cellini. They make a good moon phase calendar. And also other watch.
Would you never
they
buy?
do.
Would you ever buy a Cellini? Or
No. Because it's the line of Rolex, elegance line without oyster case.
Right. Right.
Case.
Yeah, I know. I feel like they should just retire that line or just redesign that word or something because it's just the typography is terrible. It kills me.
Yeah, the name also.
Yeah, I know. Oh, here's another watch I have that you. I wonder what you think of is the Nautilips.
Oh, it's great. It's Quartz, but it's a nice design. Now it's a very expensive watch.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ah,
For example, in the last auction, a steel one, example, made $25,000.
oh
A
yeah.
steel one.
Yeah.
They are still in gold.
They're actually the two-tone of that watch is beautiful looking, and so is the all-gold one. They're I think people whenever I wear mine, people are always freaked out by it because they're so used to seeing a Nautilus, but to see something with a different proportion is frightening, or not frightening, but weird
Yeah.
for them. They need to be more elastic, like you.
Yeah. Flexibility helps you.
Yeah. Well, look, John, it's been fantastic having you here.
Okay.
It's been a real honor, man, honestly.
Welcome for your hospitality.
No, I'm so happy and
Great to talking about watches
and cars.
with aficionado.
That's the highest compliment from the horological pope.
No, Pope.
But once again, I really thank you for coming and
Welcome.
being here.